One of the things that isn't well known about the Open University, despite the fact that it's 50 years old, is that actually it wasn't the first thing on campus at Milton Keynes. The first thing on campus was the Institute of Educational Technology, and it was invented the year before the Open University to look at technologies, pedagogy, and how we should start to build the university to make it as effective as it's become. And it's still there today. It's still our beating heart. And one of the things we've done is produce this on a yearly basis, which is freely available. Some of you will have copies here, and I'll be talking about some, not all of the things in this. It actually originates from another report, which is also freely available on the web, called Innovating Pedagogies. That's a slightly more nerdy and academic version of this. This version is distilled to be rather more work-related, and I've taken elements of this and elements of this and distilled another version, which I'll talk to you about today. So, Institute of Educational Technology, been there for a very long time. It's not a faculty per se, it's there full of researchers and scholarly people looking at the changes in learning and development and then trying to apply them to our own work and where possible share that with others. So Trends in Learning 2018, if you've just been poring through the leaflet Sales Description Act, I'm only going to pick one from that and two from the other report, because I think actually they join together in a story which I think is increasingly important in the HRD field. I'm going to look at something called values-led learning. Oh, by the way, this is not a particularly techie talk. This is more about themes that we think are increasingly important in the workplace. And there'll be some technology that enables some of these themes to be realized. And the good news is, I'm head of business development and propositions at the OU. I'm not selling anything because the things that I'm talking about are all freely available and you'll be able to use them if you want for free, and I'll list them at the end so you can pick them up and make use of them. Okay, values-led learning, knowledge-building communities, and open textbooks are the three I'm going to talk about. So, values-led learning. Anybody that's been working in HRD for any period of time will not see this presumably as a particularly new thing. However, I think it might be a particularly timely thing to bring back to life and really think about. What do we mean by values-led learning? That learning is most effective when it actually relates to an individual's personal needs and interests. That's not particularly new, but learning just does not work as well unless it really connects with the individual and their context and their needs. And there's no big surprise. Not only does it connect better, it's demonstrably more effective, and the learner is demonstrably more active when they are personally connected with the learning. This is not in itself a big revelation. It has not taken us 50 years to discover this with a bunch of academics. It has been known for a very long time. It's kind of motherhood and apple pie, or in this case, grandpa and apple pie, because it's something that Malcolm Knowles, the grandfather of adult learning, invented the term andragogy rather than pedagogy, why we as adults learn differently, supposedly, to children. And he brought out these big, I think, 4 principles of adult learning. We are not children, it is obvious. But we bring things to learning that are really quite different or on the other end of a continuum from children. We need to be involved in the planning and evaluation of our instruction. We are not willing just to learn because we're instructed. I have children and grandchildren. I happen to know they're not either. Experience, we have far more experience obviously than children, and we bring our experience to everything that we do, and we tend to see what we're going to be doing in terms of our existing experience, and that is also applied to learning. Increasingly, people want learning that's immediately relevant in it and has an impact on their working lives and their jobs. We are not willing to defer the implications of our learning or the benefits of our learning. We want to see the implications now, and that learning is often problem-centered. We want to apply it. We want to see it as have utility and of immediate impact. For anybody that's worked in the field, this shouldn't be new. He's not new. This is really about a continuum. Children also feel this, but adults ever more so. The really strange thing about it is, although I think we all know it and feel it, it's a bit like going off on a management training course. Do we actually apply it on a daily basis in terms of the way that we present the learning to the user? And what does it mean for us? I've just done my GDPR course. I bet everybody's just done their GDPR course. How many of those courses were represented to you as, we're going to go bankrupt if we don't fix this problem? How many times was it presented to you as, you'll lose your job if you get this wrong? So it's slightly more motivating. But how often was it advertised to you as the idea that there are vast numbers of jobs in the field for anybody that's got GDPR training, and it's a great piece of promotion for you or promotional opportunity? I think very often we just don't even contextualize what is organizationally requirements, compliance requirements, in terms of framing it as of personal interest, direct personal interest to the learner. So one very simple top tip is you don't have to localize the learning, but you do really have to make it meaningful to the subgroups that you've got and try and see it in their terms rather than the business's terms. I know the pressure on the business and the pressure on HRD in general is all about proving value to the business, but actually we're in real danger of forgetting that it's got to be of value to the learner first to be of any impact whatsoever. And that's sometimes just changing the wording of the email or the wording that's present on the website to just make them feel, oh, this could improve my career, not just sink the business. More worrying, if you don't do it, the learners will take control for themselves. They will do it. They will go and find learning that is alien, not produced by you necessarily, and not in your control. And with the rise of MOOCs, vast amounts of online learning, vast numbers of people. I think MOOC membership now is up to about 60 million. We've got at least 7 or so million in the UK on our own MOOC platform. CIPD has got its own Future Learn MOOC there. But learners are increasingly taking their learning into their control. And that could cause quite a significant problem for the learning industry inside organizations. It's going to face its Napster moment. You know, the music industry was decimated by the provision of online free access to music, books, financial services, holidays. They've all been radically transformed. You are likely to lose your learners to the outside world unless you can make it relevant to them in the inside world. Second trend, knowledge building communities. So despite saying learning has to be truly personal, okay, motherhood and apple pie, but actually do we do it on a daily basis in the way that we frame and present our learning opportunities? But despite it being personal, it is also truly social. And that's not just because I'm a hippie. There's a long tradition of learning psychology that suggests that people learning together learn more effectively and learn from peers more effectively than they learn from leaders. We know that peer-assessed learning is sometimes, obviously not at the OU, is sometimes more accurately marked than tutor-marked learning. And the process of marking somebody else's work or feeding back on somebody else's work is in itself a learning experience. Sometimes the most powerful, reaffirming learning experience that's personal. But you can't do that if you're on your own. So knowledge building communities we think are increasingly important. What is it? Wikipedia. I'm not embarrassed to say I used Wikipedia to build some of this presentation. Wikipedia is an amazingly powerful resource. It is a sign of the future. Go and look at their 2030 plan. It is an amazing plan of ambition about global ownership of knowledge and the role of the crowd in developing knowledge in the future. My kids use it. If your kids aren't using it to do their homework, 5 years ago, teachers would have said, under no circumstances should you be using Wikipedia. Now my kids' teachers are saying, use Wikipedia, and here it is in the classroom. Wikipedia was just the beginning of the notion of a knowledge-building community. It's an amazingly sophisticated one, surprisingly sophisticated and well-organized, but it's not alone. And as with music, it's not just that information will become increasingly both public and shared, but learning is moving in that direction as well. Open Learn Create is one of our constructions. It's a site designed specifically to allow anybody, my mum, you, anybody, to build a learning course in the open, in the public, for free. It's got a VLE, it issues badges and certificates if you want it to. You can build your own course there. You've got to present your course for free in the public domain. Merlot, another amazing site, just had a big overhaul, full of vast amounts of free learning content built by the community. And increasingly, these things are not just there and built by the community, they're increasingly being fused with social networks. Anybody here not on LinkedIn and having learning recommended to them on a daily basis? They bought Linda. They're moving into the world of learning provision, and they won't be alone. They may not be the winner in this game, but networked learning communities that allow you to bring learning that's personally relevant from the recommendations of the group that you trust, and that may not be the company or the HRD department, is critical. So one of the issues here is, what can you do about that? Well, increasingly, can you be part of that community? Can you be a curator of knowledge as much as you are a provider of it? Curation is a hot topic at the moment because this vast swamp of open learning materials is going to be probably best used with really great curators, people that can bring it and make it relevant and localize it to the local group. And are you trusted as a curator? One of the things about being a trusted curator is obviously to listen to your teams and say, oh, you've found something. It's really good. Let's put it here, get it rated, get it shared, see what else there is. Open textbooks. Anybody own an open textbook? Heard of an open textbook? You've got Kindle. You could get free textbooks. Big movement in the States. Not really big here yet, but I think it's coming. Poland, the entire country has moved its entire educational provision into the open textbooks domain. American publishers are quite significantly threatened by the open textbook movement. The open textbook movement is driven by the fact that in the US, nearly a third of your costs of being a student can be down to just buying the books that you require for learning. It's a very, very complicated world in the States in terms of publishers working in particular states. This has driven a lot of other groups funded by some of the tech companies to start building open textbooks. These are books that are available online for free, and they're open not just because they're online. You can edit them and change them and republish them and reissue them. So if you're a curator, or your teams are curating knowledge for you, and this stuff is out there for free, and you can localize it so it's more meaningful locally to your teams in your business, you might want to use open textbooks. The problem is they're all on biology or physics or chemistry, or at least they were. And increasingly there are open textbooks producers aiming it at the work market and CPD. This is one of our open textbooks. It's on biology, on RNA, I think this one. The critical thing is just to remember, although they exist at the moment mostly in the academic world, they are beginning to come and arrive in the CPD world. I think Area 9 very involved in this, and there are others as well, using this open technology. The critical thing, just to remind you, is you can take the book and re-edit it. You can say, hi, it's Andrew from the Open University. I'm just going to introduce you to DNA. Here's my video. Hello. By the way, if you need to talk to somebody afterwards, here's the phone number, here's the email address, here's the URL, our local intranet. You can localize it. As I say, mostly high school oriented, but they are coming in waves in the CPD field. I'm going to name a few of them. This is not an exclusive list. They mostly started on a site called OpenStax, mostly academically oriented and high school oriented, but not exclusively so. Bookboon, really big site, does the same. British Columbia campus, they're a big developer in this area. They've got some business development activities, business skill activities. OpenLearn, the Open University's version of an open learning site with OERs all over it. And I'll just have the privilege of standing up here and being able to talk to you a little bit about OpenLearn because it's free. It's openly licensed, visited by about 6 million people every year. It's our site, sits alongside FutureLearn. But on OpenLearn, everything's free, including the certificates and the badges and the quizzes. There's 1,000 courses that sit on there. Some of them are about RNA, But I would say of those 1,000 courses, at least 300 are aimed at people in work. Most of our students are in work. Most of our students are studying with us because they want to do better at work. So we're releasing a large amount of content into the public domain, skills for work. They are all available as free courses. They are all available under an open license, which means you may copy them. Terms and conditions apply. Please read that very carefully. Do not sell them. Our lawyers will chase you if you sell them. And I've just chosen 3 or 4 on a wide range of subjects at pre-undergraduate, undergraduate and postgraduate level. These are just some of the 1,000 courses that are available. And they're not available just as a course within our open virtual learning environment. You can download them with the videos and take them as a Kindle or an EPUB 3. You can take them as a Word document. You can take them as a PDF. You can take them and make them yours. You can re-edit them. You can localize them. You can put your brand on them. The terms and conditions apply. That sounds like there's a price here to pay somewhere. There isn't. It's just we're not daft. We don't want our competitors to take this and sell it and build entirely new businesses on this that might threaten ours. We have a social mission. We need to help our students. We don't want to be sunk by other people living off us, basically. So we make this stuff available for free, but if you use them, you've got to make them available for free as well. So what does the open textbook world mean for, you can ignore the term textbook, sounds a bit schooly, it's just open materials, open educational resources, OERs, if you don't know the field. And if you're looking for them and you don't want to just look up for ours, use that term OER. That means it's free, it's public, it's online, and it's adaptable by you. If you're confused or worried about rights issues, just go to a thing called creativecommons.org, and it will explain in one page what your rights are. But broadly speaking, if you don't have intent to sell the material or profit directly from it, you can almost certainly use it, adapt it, reversion it, but for the goodness of the community, you should really try and put it back out there and share it again. So what does this mean for learning and development teams? It's free. There are no hidden catches here. This is free learning materials, mostly schools-based for a long period of time, but increasingly CPD-oriented. There are large numbers of people that are producing this, and the quality is going up and up and up. It's not just flat text. These books, if you own a Kindle, you can play videos in them, you can touch the interactive. You very often cannot complete the quiz and pass the data of the quiz back to the learning record. You might have to return to the site where you got that to do that. They can be edited. And I think it gives you the opportunity, going back to Knowles and the knowledge building community, to use your teams to find this stuff, and for you to be the curator of that knowledge, to be able to localize it and make it meaningful for your own organization. So definitely use this term, OER. In fact, anybody that uses Google Chrome, there are even specialized searches that will only find OERs for you. It is not rocket science, but it's not easy to edit a book. But if you've got a webmaster, mistress, they will be able to do it. One page of reading creativecommons.org will give you enough information about the rights. Your lawyers will not freak out. They will freak out, but they don't need to freak out. And you could make them part of a curated service. We do it at the OU. We've got loads of stuff, but we have a curator of knowledge for our teams. They mostly bring external stuff and mix it with internal stuff. Weekly or monthly newsletter goes out to all the teams and says, this is what's available, go off and try it. And people are beginning to add to that process now. And they trust that source more than they trust any other source of information, because their peers are playing a very significant role in curating that content. So they happen to be expressed as ebooks, but you can download them as courses or PDFs. But OERs, and if you wanted to start somewhere, I would say this, wouldn't I? You could start with OpenLearn. There are probably 300 at least courses on CPD-related training. If you take them on the website, you get a certificate, and you might get an electronic badge, and you can keep the profile of your learning there. If you take them away from the website, you just read them as an ebook. Doesn't have to be on a Kindle. For those that don't realize, you can read an ebook on a standard computer. It just doesn't have all the fancy page turning experiences. You could, and there are others, but I showed you some of the tools that allow people to group together and pull learning together. One that isn't in this presentation, but I should have added, is a system called ELGG, E-L-G-G, which is an open source technology you can download, build a team around it. They can bring the learning to it and begin to curate learning for themselves. At the moment, it's mostly full of sports fanatics, but I think over time, something like ELGG or Open Create or Merlot will become large, free, open, editable sources of learning in which you can have your own space and your own representation and your own reputation as a great teacher and or learner. And that should keep Malcolm Knowles reasonably happy, but most importantly, it should keep your learners reasonably happy with a much more personal service and a contextualized service. I did, but for rights reasons I couldn't, have a picture of Michael Corleone here. And for those that, please tell, some of you must have seen The Godfather. It's not personal, it's business. Well, currently, learning is business. But if learning is only business and not personal, we're in really big trouble in the long term. So it's personal, not business, is the message I'd probably like you to take home.